Welcome back to another episode of History in Your Own Backyard. I'm your host, Susie Selleck, here today in Norwood, Ohio, checking out the top 10 most interesting historic places here. Join me as we go through Norwood, Ohio.
The city of Norwood has many unusual and interesting historic buildings, sites, and stories, and today we'll introduce you to a few of those. Number 1, Norwood was originally named Sharpsburg. However, in 1869, a new subdivision was in need of a name. With the town being north of Cincinnati and being a heavily wooded area, the name Northwoods Heights was given to the new housing development. The name was soon shortened to Norwood Heights. The name became popular with other developers who named their subdivisions South Norwood, East Norwood, and West Norwood. When the village was incorporated in 1888, the name was changed from Sharpsburg to Norwood. Number 2, actor and dancer George Chakiris. He is best known for his role as Bernardo in the film West Side Story. George was born in 1932 in Norwood and lived at the corner of Sherman and Allison Avenues until he was 4 years old. His parents, Stephen and Zoe, were immigrants from Turkey who purchased this 2-story building where they operated a combination deli ice cream shop and grocery store called the Grecian Garden. The family moved to Arizona in 1937, where George finished growing up and pursued his acting career. Number 3. In the early 1900s, like many cities at the time, Norwood built an incinerator to burn residential trash. The incinerator was located in the valley along Duck Creek Road. The leftover ash was dumped into a pit about half-mile west of the incinerator at a location near the present-day Shea Stadium. A new rail line was built in the area in between 1930 and 1931 to give the Pennsylvania Railroad, Little Miami Division, and the Richmond Division a route to Union Terminal, utilizing the B and the O Midland track rather than trying to navigate trains across a congested industrial riverfront. So at that time, a tunnel was incorporated under the tracks near the incinerator to allow for the continued transportation of the ash to the pit. And oh yeah, this tunnel still exists today. In 1959, a decision was made to build a new incinerator on the hill above the old incinerator. The new facility went online around 1961, but only ran for about a year before closing. Apparently, since the new incinerator sat higher up on a hill, the ash and soot from the smokestack would be caught up in the prevailing westerly winds and sent directly into the neighborhoods of Oakley and Hyde Park. The residents of those neighborhoods obviously were upset about the situation, and the incinerator was eventually closed. Today, the former incinerator is being used to store salt for the roadways during winter. Number 4. Speaking of railroads, okay, so earlier when I mentioned the new railroad line being built back in like 1930, 1931, so a railroad depot was also built at that time to accommodate the passenger trains as well. It was common to see soldiers boarding and unboarding trains at this depot during World War II. Although passenger trains no longer run on these tracks, the depot still remains and is now used as a lodge for the Norwood Eagles 449. Number 5. Sticking with the railroad theme, just 100 yards south of where the first incinerator sat, this original section of Duck Creek Road, which is now a dead end, it would narrow down to one lane and would use a small brick line tunnel to go under the B and O Midland rail line. The rail line dates back to the 1850s, with this tunnel being built either at that time or no later than 1887. Although this tunnel sits just 150 feet from southbound I-71, where thousands of people travel every day, due to the way it's angled, It's pretty tough to find from the expressway, but totally worth going out of your way for. Number 6, Norwood has an Indian mound. Yes, and quite a nice one at that. The mound is an elliptical earthen structure measuring 100 by 130 feet and stands about 15 feet tall. The mound is the highest land elevation in Norwood and one of the highest elevations in all of Southwest Ohio. Archaeologists believe that the mound was constructed by the people of the Adena culture sometime before 1500. And they don't think that it was used as a burial mound, rather used for religious ceremonies. Number 7, Norwood's Water Tower Park is located in the Norwood Heights subdivision, which was developed in 1869. This small park is also home to the previously mentioned Indian Mound. Clean drinking water was a pressing issue back then, as most Norwood residents used private wells, cisterns, or streams for their water source. In 1892, the Norwood residents voted in favor of a city-maintained waterworks department, which would consist of wells, a pumping station, and a water tower. In 1894, 6 artesian wells, a pumping station, and this 100-foot steel water tower were constructed as part of the project. The first water tower featured a spiral staircase to the top, where there was an observation tower for local residents to view the valley below. Number 8. In 1985, Carl Linder Jr. and his brother, Robert Linder, donated $150,000 to the city of Norwood to purchase the 14-acre McCullough estate at Cypress Way and Indian Mound Avenue. The estate was part of the former McCullough Seed Company property, which operated until 1960. The property, now known as Linder Park, McCullough Estate Nature Preserve, includes the former McCullough home, but the real surprise is what you can't see from the road. So walking back one of the trails leading into the woods, you'll find a small stone footbridge built in 1910. You'll also find a stone-lined swimming pool, a bathhouse, and what appears to be a spring house. Discovering these rustic structures back in the woods is seriously like being part of an Indiana Jones movie or something. But of course, the park is owned and operated as a City of Norwood Park. Number 9, Norwood has a wide variety of beautiful historic homes. Driving down the tree-lined streets, you see interesting architecture everywhere. So it was pretty difficult picking out just one house to feature in this film, but we did. At the northeast corner of Floral and Hudson Avenues is this beautiful Victorian home built around 1890. It was designed by architect George Franklin Barber, who marketed house designs through mail-order catalogs. Over 4 dozen of his homes are listed on the National Register of Historic Places. It is believed that there are somewhere between 7 and 17 versions of this particular design still standing throughout the United States. This home was one of the first built in Norwood's original Ellesmere subdivision and was used to advertise the subdivision in the 1894 book called Norwood, Her Homes and Her People. Number 10. At the corner of Allison Street and Wire Avenue is the massive former Allison Street Elementary School, built in 1897. The 12-room elementary school was designed by Cincinnati architect Samuel Hannaford, who also designed the Allison North School building, which was Norwood's first four-year high school. The high school featured an auditorium on the third floor. And in 1914, a new high school was built on Sherman Avenue, and the old high school was transformed into an elementary school. On February 12, 1917, the old high school was destroyed by a fire due to an overheated furnace. The building was later rebuilt next to the original grade school.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of History in Your Own Backyard. I'm your host, Susie Selleck, here today in Norwood, Ohio. Hope you enjoyed your time with us and learned a little something. Remember, travel slowly and stop often. Bye for now.